interested in inspiring, if the Democratic Party is interested in being different, then the Democratic Party will nominate Barack Obama. But let me add that I'm a big supporter, not in this particular campaign, but I'm a big supporter of Hillary Clinton. If Hillary Clinton should become the Democratic nominee for president, she will be an outstanding candidate and she will be an outstanding president. And she'll have all of my support. I think either Democrat head and shoulders above the Republican.
All right, but you're predicting Barack wins. You're predicting those superdelegates. They're going to look at who's electable after Reskow, after Pastor Jeremiah Wright, knowing, look, the thing about it too, it's not just an issue, it's a visual issue. You know those clips people were watching in the last 2 weeks? National polls that generally had Barack up 5 points over Hillary Clinton now have him down about 5 points.
I think it's a momentary dip, and I think he'll come back.
But we'll see those clips again. It'll be more of a visual issue. It'll be in May. It'll be in April. It'll be in June. If it goes to the general election, it'll be then. That's the thing. As you know, visuals are important.
My view, they are, but my view is that any damage this will do to Barack Obama will be more in the red states than the blue states. And so people who are not going to vote for Barack because they're Republican, people who are not going to vote for Barack because they aren't going to vote for anyone who's black, people who aren't going to vote for Barack because he's tall, people that aren't going to vote for Barack because he's biracial, those people from red states simply aren't going to vote for Barack.
You know, look, red states, so you know Barack said, red states have people who have gay friends too. Blue states have people who play baseball, Little League. You know that speech. You know that.
That's
all
true, but the premise of your conversation was that this will hurt him in the election, and I simply don't believe it will.
In the general election or in the nomination?
I don't believe it'll hurt him in either process.
Okay. Look, we'll come back to that if we have time. We want to get to the state issues. You're there in Springfield. You're in recess now. You're in recess next week. It goes back, the beginning of April, the end of March. Capital budget. Is that the most important thing going on now with the General Assembly?
The most important thing we have to do every year is an operating budget.
So that's still yet to be done.
We still have to find how we're going to fund schools, do a better job with health care, clean up the air, clean up the water, whatever the operating budget is for Illinois, that has a huge hole in it. That has to be dealt with first. The issue about a capital budget, I think you'll find if you talk to all 177 legislators, they would tell you we need a capital budget.
What is a capital budget for people who don't know?
For those that don't know, this is about building things, building the infrastructure of Illinois, roads, bridges, schools, libraries, civic centers, public buildings, public ways, public roads. We haven't had a good capital bill in many, many years.
About a decade, right? Last one was 99, wasn't it?
I think that's right.
That was Illinois First from the now, how do we say, the infamous George Ryan?
Correct. And George was ahead of his time in pushing that program. We needed it then, and we need it now. So it will not only will it rebuild Illinois, it could be $25 billion of building, but it will put a lot of people to work, something we must do for the economic development and vitality of our state. The thing that's holding that up is nobody trusts Rod Blagojevich. And so...
Is that it, or is that there's no agreement on a revenue source?
I think there will...
For that capital budget. If you're going to have a capital budget, you have to figure out how you're going to pay the interest on the bonds that are going to finance that.
That's correct. I think there will be an agreement on a revenue source, which would be some gaming law changes, but that is on hold now, trying to figure out how to get a capital bill passed. I think we would have no trouble passing a capital bill if we knew first where the money was going. In other words, what are the projects? And second, how to make sure that the governor of the state of Illinois, one Rod Blagojevich, who nobody trusts in Springfield, will actually spend those dollars where we've asked him to spend them. And so there's an effort being made to figure out how to pass a capital bill, but put somebody else in charge of the money.
Can you pass the capital bill without having an identifiable revenue source first? Don't those two have to go hand in hand?
Well, they have to go hand in hand, but they don't necessarily have to be in the same bill. So I would tell you here and now that I think we have the votes to pass a capital bill. We have the votes to pass a gaming bill that would pay for a capital bill. But until we know the details of the capital bill, neither will pass.
What does that gaming bill look like? You are chair of the gaming commission, chair of the gaming committee,
right,
in the State House. So you would know this. You spent a good part of what, good part of your life for how many years now, talking and thinking about gaming issues?
That's actually true. And because I'm interested in economic development, it's unfortunate now that gaming has become a budget tool rather than economic development tool, but we'll take it as we need it. There are any number of combinations and permutations out there.
Make a prediction. What do you think at the end of the day, at the end of the year, whether it's May 31st or August 31st or December 31st, the end of the session, what does the gaming bill look like?
Gaming bill is going to add 1 or 2 new licenses.
Add, because there's a 10th license that's already out there, so you'll get a casino, you'll get a location for that.
We'll get the 10th replaced. We'll get 1 or 2 more.
1 or 2 more.
We'll get gaming in the city of Chicago in a land-based kind of facility. There will be slot machines at racetracks.
Racinos, as they call them?
Yes, but we will pump money into the horse racing industry so that we don't lose agriculture jobs in the horse racing industry. So we'll make sure that they...
Agriculture jobs?
Well, we consider horse racing jobs agriculture jobs.
Okay. So people that work in the racetracks are farm workers?
No, but the people you see that work at the racetracks are only the tip of the iceberg. There's 40,000 people in Illinois whose jobs depend on the horse racing industry. Most of them you don't see. They're downstate in rural Illinois growing the feed and breeding the horses and raising the horses and training the horses. Those are the people whose jobs are being exported to other states.
All right, so you do all that. How much money comes out of that gaming bill to finance that capital bill?
We could get sufficient dollars out of there.
Ballpark.
We could get a $12 or $13 billion capital bill out of that, and federal match would give us another 12 or so. So we're looking at about $25 billion.
All right, and we're going to continue to speak as the credits roll, but I very much want to thank our guest, State Representative Lou Lang. Thanks so much for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We have so much left to do. Can you come back another time?
I'd be happy
Next
to.
week?
Sure, I'm happy to.
All right, it's unprecedented. We're going to do that. We're going to have Representative Lou Lang come back. We're going to pick up the discussion. You be sure to be here next week because we're going to continue to talk about Barack Obama. We didn't finish that discussion yet. It's important. It's got a lot of national issues. It's put Illinois on the map if it wasn't on the map already. And we're going to continue to talk about the budget, the capital budget, the regular budget, Rod Blagojevich, can he be trusted? If Barack gets elected president, then you got a Senate vacancy and the governor gets to appoint that. And who do you think the governor is going to appoint? We're going to ask Lou Lang that next week and find out. And what does the 2010 race look like for the Democratic side, on the Republican side? So all coming up next week with Lou Lang. But right now, back to, so you've got the, well, putting aside the capital, staying with the capital budget, you got this $12 or $13 billion capital budget with a 50% match or 100% match that gives you $25 billion to spend on capital projects over 5-6 years, right?
Correct.
And you're going to get this gaming source from these additional casinos. What does that give you in revenue to finance? Is that about $1 billion a year?
It's about $1 billion, and that takes care of
that. And
11, about 11 or 12 billion dollars.
What about the operating budget, the annual budget, the one that was presented on, what was it, March 20? Well, it was February 20th, excuse me, by Rod Blagojevich. Did he present a budget? Does it have holes in it?
Well, there's tons of holes in it, and those.
If it's not balanced, how much do you need to balance that budget?
Well,
does anybody know?
The current year's budget is $750 million in the hole.
What about the next one?
We don't know yet about the next one.
Could be $1 billion or $2 billion. So you need a revenue source for that, right?
That's
or
correct.
You need to cut spending. Rod's talked about across the board cuts in spending. Could you go for that?
I could probably not go for across the board. I think we need to do a budget line item by line item, not just do it the easy way. I think we need to find out where the cuts can come and where they should not come.
All right, so not across the board. And if you're looking for a big revenue source for the operating side, where do you get that money? Do you get it from securitizing the tobacco proceeds? The tobacco settlement proceeds?
We could do some of that. Some have talked about an income tax increase.
Lease of the lottery, would you go for that?
I'm not for the lease or sale of the state lottery. It's a permanent state asset. I don't know why we would ever give it up.
What about the 70%, raising the tax on casino revenue to 70%?
When we